everybody to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpasser. Right now, I want to welcome in my other co-host, a member of the 1981 national champion, Indiana Hoosiers, and a member of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great today, Mike. Wonderful day. Good. Hangover from the 30 for 30 last night, but I'm sure we'll get to that at some point in the show.
All right, and this week, we're going to start doing this every Friday on our Friday Football Frenzy. We'll have somebody come and pick the games with us. And that man this week is from the Fantasy Face-Off, which was posted this morning on thegruelingtruth.net. You can also hear on YouTube, Anthony Servino. How you doing, Anthony?
After last night, I'm doing great. You know that.
Why is that? Did you make some money?
A little bit of money, but I mean, I'm a Cowboys fan. That was the game of the year. That was probably the biggest game that the Cowboys played in a long time.
Well, it wasn't the game of the year, but it might have been the game of the year for the Cowboys, though.
I mean, it's close. The only game that might have been better was the Rams-Chiefs. But if you like defensive football,
okay, I don't see where it's even one of the top 5 games I've seen. But
Mike, you see here, you give a guy a finger, and we're going to pre him on so he can gloat about his Cowboys, and now he's freaking trying to say last night was the game of the year.
Because this is the thing.
Are you kidding me? Anthony, you got to know your place in society. All right, you won a big game. You solidified your playoff spots. You're making people believers out of the Cowboys. That was nowhere close to the game of the year. I could probably rattle off 10 games that were more relevant than that game. I think the Browns beating the Bungles last week was a bigger game.
Oh, shut up.
Nobody Marvin Lewis down and slapped Hugh Jackson down.
Yeah, but it wasn't a good game. And this is the thing. The great thing about this is every year it happens.
Biggest game of the year.
The Dallas Cowboys win a game, and their fans act like they won the Super Bowl. That's how you know that they're not going to win the Super Bowl. So if we look at this, are the Cowboys a Super Bowl contender now, Anthony?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
Because Dak Prescott is still turning the ball over. Dak Prescott is still missing throws. So until Dak Prescott can get on track with all that, I don't think they can make a legitimate deep playoff run past the divisional round.
Well, I think this. I think when I look at it, my problem with it is this. The Cowboys played a perfect game, and they won by 3 points. The New Orleans Saints did not play a perfect game, and let's face it, any team that's won 9 or 10 games in a row is due for a fall. They played on a Thursday night. It was on the road. I give the Cowboys credit for this. I think they've got a top 3 defense, but I think they've got a bottom 3 head coach. And I think they have an offense that's just not that good. And the problem still, no matter what happens the rest of this season, is if this game is played again, it'll be played in the New Orleans Superdome.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And it's going to be difficult for the Cowboys to go, whether it's the Superdome or whether it's the Coliseum, to meet the Rams. That's going to be a difficult out for the Cowboys, especially in the postseason.
Well, I think this, and with the history of the Cowboys, playing Seattle or Carolina in the first round at home is going to be difficult.
That's if Carolina even gets in. I mean, they've lost a couple in a row.
Basically, I was just throwing them in there for the hell of it. Anybody they play is going to be difficult.
I get that. I get that the Cowboys played a perfect game and the Saints didn't play their best, but you have to give credit to the Cowboys defense because they were the key to the game. That defense played out of their minds. Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith, they're probably, you could make a case that they are the best linebacker tandem in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
and they could also be that way for the next couple of years.
Jason Garrett's the greatest football coach that ever lived, and the Dallas Cowboys ownership is the greatest that ever lived because you guys won a game. This is the thing I know about Cowboy fans. If you lose next week, it'll be the exact opposite because there's no in-between with Cowboy fans because, let's face it, most people that are Cowboys fans are Cowboys fans when they win, not when they're losing. Steve, I know you had something to add a minute ago.
I'm just going to tend to disagree with you on this. I think the Cowboys are getting more and more dangerous every week.
I don't.
I mean, you're seeing a steady progression of increased chemistry and play in this football team. They're winning the last 4 games, and now they beat who you claim to be the best team in the NFL.
No, it's not
right
who I
now.
claim to be the best team. It's they are the best team.
Okay, well, that's your opinion.
And I'm right.
That's your opinion.
So it doesn't matter.
Well, okay, but I'm saying I think it's getting a situation now where, like I'm sitting here harping on my Colts, and I'm thinking Cowboys. That's a home game for us. We get by that one. I'm not going to really worry about that one too much. Now I'm worried. I mean, I tell you, we need to beat the Cowboys to give the Colts a chance to play. And I'm not going to shift gears here, but I'm thinking. I don't know that the Cowboys aren't peaking at the right time and doing the right things. And Prescott doesn't look that bad. Ezekiel Elliott is one of the 2 or 3 best running backs in the league. Amari Cooper has changed the dynamic of that football team somehow, but maybe just in the locker room. I don't know. But that team has changed since they brought him up. Hang on, I'm not done yet.
Okay, don't worry about the people that listen. Go ahead.
And I think if right now I'm looking at the Cowboys and saying, we got to prepare for these guys now. They are bringing it. All right, and they're getting very, very, very dangerous for all of a sudden, real quick, and they can make some noise. They just took out your best team in the NFL.
So
I don't care where they played. If it was
you know what?
NFL,
you know what?
Win
Steve, the freaking Tampa Bay Buccaneers took out the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. I still think they're the best team in the NFL. It's a long season. Teams lose games they shouldn't.
Yeah, but
win games they shouldn't.
Now
and we've got
no. That crap doesn't fly now.
It doesn't.
We're getting the playoff situation now. Teams are getting prepared for the playoffs now.
This is not a playoff
situation. Teams that are peaking
situation
right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the game at the beginning of the season, no factor at all in terms of what the Cowboys did last night.
Huh?
Anthony, am I doing okay for you?
The point
absolutely.
is this.
What I think is
okay. Just make a comment to me, Steve. Then ask him a question so I can't respond because you're going to be wrong as always. Go ahead.
Respond, Aunt Mike. Go ahead.
I can't because
you gobble this up like I gobble up.
Well, I mean, all I know is this. The playoffs start in January. They're not today. To sit here and say that this was a game of huge importance to the Saints is nuts. It wasn't nearly as important as it was to the Dallas Cowboys.
God.
I think you're out of your mind.
Loser.
That's not a sore loser. How's that a sore loser?
The Rams have home field advantage.
They just lost home field advantage.
So?
You know what the headlines up for LA papers are this morning? Rams got home field advantage to the playoffs now.
And you know what the headline should also be? The headline should also be that there's still 4 or 5 games left to go. Having a home field advantage right now doesn't mean anything.
The Rams have a cake schedule,
and
the New Orleans Saints have the Panthers twice, the Steelers in the middle of that, and the only really easy game is the Buccaneers sweep.
Well, I can tell you this: the Saints will win out. They'll beat all those teams because they're just better than them. The Saints don't have, or the Steelers don't have that defense.
Saints are going to lose one to the Carolina. It happens every year.
Okay, because right now the way Carolina's playing, they may not win another game. But I also think this. The Rams will lose to the Bears in Chicago.
Because of last night, the Saints no longer control their own destiny.
Yeah, they do.
If you don't think that wasn't important to the Saints,
what the fuck?
You're nuts.
So you don't control your own destiny? So what you're telling me is, what does – see, you just keep talking. Just keep talking.
They've got to come to L.A.
Make the same point over and over. So? And they don't control their own destiny when they go to L.A.?
No.
They don't?
No, they don't get home field advantage. They don't
what the hell has that got to do with controlling your own destiny?
Your comment was, if we go play again, the Cowboys are going to have to go to the Superdome and play.
Yeah, and they are.
They're going to get killed.
Yeah,
so the home field advantage obviously means something to you.
No, it doesn't. It just means that you have to do this again. Yourself. And what you guys don't understand is this. The Dallas Cowboys had one game plan that could have beat the New Orleans Saints. Do you really believe Jason Garrett can figure out how to beat them again? Because I guarantee you this, Sean Payton's New Orleans Saints are a better coached team, and when you look at it, he's going to figure this out. Jason Garrett's not. This is why Jason Garrett's winning percentage in the playoffs is just a little bit better than Marvin Lewis's. And we've got T-Rex from Fort Wayne who says the Dallas Cowboys and Chicago Bears are similar, great defenses but suspect offenses. I will agree to that to a point, but I think that the Bears have a better offense because I think the Bears' offensive line is better.
I think the Cowboys have a better offense.
Well, that's good for you.
But I think it's close, to be honest.
The Bears' offensive line what you've got, the Bears' offensive line, guard to guard, is the best in the NFL. Tackle's not as great, but I think offensive line-wise, they're better. They've got Jordan Howard, who's a stud, just like the Cowboys have a stud. Mitch Trubisky gives you the advantage of a quarterback that can run for 100 yards. You can't put Jordan Howard on
the same atmosphere as Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, I know, because you're a Cowboys fan. Ezekiel Elliott's the greatest thing that ever lived, right?
I mean, running back, Mike.
Aside from Todd Gurley, is there anybody else on his level right now? And this including Ezekiel Elliott has had at least 5 receptions in the past 4 games, so he's doing everything that Todd Gurley is doing right now.
Okay, well,
he's doing everything that it takes.
Alvin Kamara's on his level.
No,
nah.
Kamara's not a good runner between the tackles. They need Mark Ingram for that.
No, Ezekiel Elliott is probably the premier running back along with Todd Gurley right now. I'd say he's in the top 5, hands down, right now.
I think the Bears' backfield is a poor man's version of the Saints because you have a Tarek Cohen who's comparable to Alvin Kamara, and Jordan Howard's very comparable to Mark Ingram.
I think Jordan Howard is much better than Mark Ingram.
I actually like Jordan Howard a lot, so I have no arguments there.
And I'll tell you this. I think there's a running back out there that's better than Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley. And he plays behind a really bad offensive line. And that's Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I said top 5. I mean, yeah, you can name 5 great running in the NFL right now. And Barkley would be in there.
I don't know that you can.
Gurley be in there.
No, there's not 5 great NFL running backs right now. That's
a metaphoric number, Mike.
There's a few. Well, a metaphoric number. I'm just telling you, I would take Saquon Barkley over anybody in the NFL right now.
Well, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I'm an idiot, but I'm right. So
you take Saquon Barkley over Todd Gurley.
Oh,
seriously, you would.
In a heartbeat. Saquon Barkley is averaging 4.8 yards a carry behind maybe one of the worst offensive lines in football.
All right, that's fine. That's your choice. Go ahead.
Well, Saquon Barkley's better. It's not my choice.
I'd take Todd Gurley over any running back in the NFL right now.
Well, you're wrong because Saquon Barkley is better. I mean, I don't understand why you would believe that Saquon Barkley should be written off like that. Saquon Barkley.
I'm not writing him off.
How many receptions?
One sucked. I said, who would I take over the other?
How many receptions?
I just would take Gurley over Barkley.
I can tell you this. Barkley is the best receiving back out of the backfield.
That's debatable.
No, it's not.
It's Barkley or Christian McCaffrey.
Strong.
Yeah, it's Barkley and McCaffrey. Okay. And Barkley, I think, is one of the top 3 runners on top of that. I mean, if you look at Barkley now, he's got 71 passes for 582 yards, 4 touchdowns. The only guy that is comparable to that is Christian McCaffrey, who's caught 71.
You know what?
5 touchdowns.
Saquon Barkley right now is not relevant in the scheme of what's going to be happening in the next 5 weeks in the NFL.
You're right. When we talk about
playoffs,
you're right.
He's going to be done in 5 weeks. He's going to be sitting out, and he'll be watching everybody else.
And it's his fault. It's his fault. Well, then if you do that, wait a second, Steve. Wait a second. If that's true, how's Todd Gurley relevant? He's never won a playoff game.
Well, they're going to win this year.
Oh, they're going to win this year. Okay. I guess that's all that matters then.
I mean, I'm not going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not going to predict he's going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to win a playoff game.
Okay. I like Saquon Barkley better than any of them. He doesn't have the body of work that the other ones have.
I don't dislike Saquon Barkley at all.
But all I know is this.
Who would I want to go to the Colts right now? If I say, who could I get a running back? I probably would take Saquon Barkley because he's young.
Okay.
He's
so
aggressive.
Wait a second.
Grow.
Is there like a year or 2 difference between him and Gurley? So you just said that Todd Gurley, hands down, was the best running back.
Huh? 3 or 4 years.
Todd Gurley's been in the league for 4 years. All right. So Todd Gurley, Steve Rizzi said, has been in the league for 4 years. I don't really remember, but I don't.
He has. No, he has. He's 4 years in. He's 4 years in.
I thought it was 3.
Okay, 3 or 4.
You made 3
or 4, either way.
You thought, and then you thought wrong.
No, you thought wrong. You're the one that said he'd been there for 4 years.
That's a Bob Knightism if there ever was one.
You said
you made
you'd been there
you
for
thought,
4
and you
years.
thought wrong. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought maybe you were over there touching yourself or something the way you were laughing. But once again, Saquon Barkley's 22.
Going to get personal with you?
Todd Gurley's. It wasn't personal. How's that personal?
All right.
It just sounded that way. Anthony, yeah, I'm pretty sure it sounded that way to Anthony too, didn't it?
Maybe a little.
Okay. See? So it wasn't just me.
And this is Todd Gurley's 4th year.
Yeah.
Actually.
So that means he only played 3 years. No, you didn't.
I got that right, buddy.
I said he'd been in the league for 3 years because it's not the 4th year until the 4th year ends.
Oh, my God.
All right. So, do we want to? I mean, the other question that comes to my mind is this. Oh yeah, T-Rex from Fort Wayne says, "Is Steve Bob Knight right now?"
I'm always Bob Knight. I mean, I subscribe to his mentality. So yes, T-Rex. Yes,
I don't think you do. I think you're a little soft compared to Bobby Knight. But the question here is this:
compared to Bobby Knight.
So, how badly does this hurt Drew Brees' shot to be the MVP this year, Anthony?
I think it all depends on how he bounces back, but it does take him down a notch.
Steve?
I don't think so. I think Drew Brees is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. He's the MVP. Actually, I think Andrew Luck is the MVP, truly. If you want to measure it just by what their contributions are to their team is, I think it's Andrew Luck. But
I
because the Colts are not relevant in terms of where the Saints are, Drew Brees is having a record-breaking year at 40 years old. It's going to go to Drew Brees unless he repeats this last night. Everybody's entitled to one off week, and this is his first off week all season long. And, Dallas threw some crap at him, and Dallas stuck it to him. I'm telling you what, he didn't screw up as much as Dallas screwed him up.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I give Dallas credit for that.
He had some wide receivers that didn't seem too big on catching the ball last night, too, in a lot of circumstances.
Right. Yeah. This doesn't hurt him.
But that's going to be the issue with the Saints trying to make a deep playoff run is outside of Michael Thomas, there is not another reliable wide receiver. The only other one's a 35-year-old Brandon Marshall who has yet to been active since he signed. I don't think he was active last night. I know it was all fun and good on Thanksgiving Day playing an inept Falcons secondary that all these undrafted free agents scored touchdowns, but in the big picture, the good defenses are going to take out Michael Thomas and let these other guys beat you. And we saw that the Cowboys didn't let that happen, and there are more defenses down the line.
See, I think this, though. I think the reason the Cowboys won this game is they were able to get pressure on him. And the Saints' offensive line, I still think is the best in the NFL. And I don't think there's that many teams that are going to be able to get after him the way that the Cowboys did. And in the end, I think that's the big difference. And I think the difference with the Cowboys is this. I really like Dak Prescott. I've always liked Dak Prescott. But I got a friend that's a Cowboy fan that constantly harps on this, and it's true. Dak Prescott cannot throw you open.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. We saw that last night. They could have put that game away in the second half, and he just missed Michael Gallup on the outside.
That's not even throwing you open, though. That's hitting a wide-open receiver. But I think this. I just think that you've got to be able to be a great NFL quarterback to be able to throw guys open. Even if you watch a guy like Andy Dalton, he'll throw the ball before the receiver's even in the break. The receiver catches it. I'd never see Dak Prescott do that. Dak Prescott is good at hitting wide-open guys that are standing there that he can hit.
Right,
he's really good.
Which is why that he struggled with Dez Bryant, and they bring in Amari Cooper, who's one of the better receivers in separation.
Yeah, and the thing is, you got to be able to get a lot of separation. And the problem when you get to it, the Rams have a better defensive front than the Cowboys. The Rams could not put that pressure on the Saints. So when you get a Rams-Saints game, I don't think it's so big a deal of where the game is at. It's just whether Aaron Donald can do what the Cowboys did last night. And you would think that he could, but for some reason when they played before, it didn't happen. So football's all about matchups, and I think the Cowboys defensively match up really good with the Saints. My only concern here is this, though. You get to a playoff game, even if it was in Dallas, I don't think that after seeing this, that the Saints all of a sudden are only going to score 10 points in a rematch, even if it's in Dallas. And my question is, could the Cowboys score in the mid-20s? And I just don't see it, because you can run the ball all you want, but sooner or later you got to throw it. And I know T-Rex in Fort Wayne brought up the Bears, and I see similar problems there for the Bears, where I think the Bears' offensive line is a little bit better than the Cowboys. Defensively, they're both very good. I'll say this. For all the talk you get with the Bears, I think it's possible the Cowboys' defense is even better than the Bears.
Except, Anthony, what's with your boy Randy Gregory? Now, I'm going to tell you, I said this before. I coached this kid. This kid went to high school with my son. Randy Gregory went to high school with my son. And I coached him in basketball. And he was a little cross-wired in high school. A lot of the same antics I see was happening last night.
Yeah, it's a maturity thing. It's a maturity thing.
I would tell you what, he's got the nicest parents in the world. I mean, I know his parents fairly well from high school. And I didn't coach him in football because I didn't help the football team, but I helped coach the basketball team. And he's a great kid. I mean, all you guys, Randy Gregory is a great young man. He's a funny kid. He's likable, but he's just got some wires crossed, and that's all the way back to high school.
Wait a second. I'm going to defend him on the roughing the punter, though. The roughing the punter, he was coming full speed. He was defeating a block, and it looked to me like he more fell into that than anything else, Anthony.
Yeah, but you know that the refs are going to make that call.
Well, they have to make that call because he wasn't blocked into him. He lost his balance. The thing I would worry about there is the angle he was taking to do that, if you know what I'm saying. I think his angle was a little bit off, which screwed him on there, which is why you're supposed to be aiming for the front of the toe at a 45-degree angle instead of you're running directly into the body. All right, we're going to go ahead and get off of this right now. And Survive and Advance 123 on Spreaker said this is a Survive and Advance record for how long Steve has gone without talking. I think you did make it to like 4 minutes at one point earlier, Steve.
Okay. Well, thank you for the feedback. That's all I can say.
But they're listening.
Thank you, Survive and Advance 123. Give it an original name, would you please?
Hey, I know. Shouldn't we copyright that?
Come on, get your own
our
name.
Lawyer, Survive and Advance 123. Our lawyer will be in touch.
Yeah. Expect litigation shortly.
Hey, but Survivor Advance 123 before that said the banter between Mike and Steve is incredible. So, all right.
Oh, I agree.
All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to pick the games this week.
It's incredible that you disagree with me. That's what's incredible.
Well, you want to go back through all the times we predicted stuff against each other? I know.
I know. Michigan lost to Villanova. I've heard it a million times. I get it.
Golden State, Cleveland, Duke, Gonzaga.
Yeah, well, I missed that one too.
All right, so we're going to start off. We're going to pick the games this week and see who wins. And it's not going to be probably me. I suck at picking games. But we're going to start off with the Chicago Bears at the New York Giants, and I'm going to start off with Anthony. Anthony, do the Giants have a shot here?
I think it's going to be a tough game for the Giants. They had a winnable game last week against Philadelphia, and they came up short. I think that little run that was all it was for the past few games leading up to the Eagles game. I think the Giants are done.
All right, so I assume you're picking Chicago. Steve?
Yes, I am. Even with Chase Daniel, absolutely.
They announced this morning Trubisky's not going to play. They're going to go with their backup quarterback again. I saw that on Twitter this morning, where he's not going to start. They're going to start their backup again. I think the Bears on paper pull this one off, but except this is the time of year. Silliness. If you ever look back at the history of the Giants, this is when they start getting dangerous for some stupid reason. And this is a team that under Coughlin and those guys, they eke their ways into the playoffs, coming in at 8-8 and just barely eking in. But they have a great last 4 or 5 games of the season. I thought the Giants played well last week. They didn't finish the deal. Anthony, I agree with you. But the Giants just seem to get kind of dangerous this time of year every year. And I think you just can't take them lightly. But I would say, based on the performance of their backup quarterback again, and that's a big reliance that he can duplicate what he did last week, that the Bears should pull this out. But historically, I've just seen the Giants.
Oh, my God, Steve, just pick the game. Are you picking Chicago or the Giants? Steve.
Tampa Bay.
So, are you picking Chicago or the Giants?
Chicago.
Because you seem torn. I am too, and I agree with it.
I am torn.
I think the Giants, you got Barkley. I think they are improving slowly. I'm going to go with Chicago just because it means more to them. But it would not surprise me if the Giants get this game. Next up, we got, but I said it in like 20 seconds. You took 4.5 minutes. Cardinals, Packers at Green Bay. I think we all can agree here, Packers, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up, Colts
Except if you're taking the spread. It's a 14-point spread. I wouldn't take the spread. I took the Cardinals because they have to play the spread. It's a 14-point spread. They're going to win by 14 points.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a closer game than what people think.
We're not talking point spreads. Yeah, because it's two bad football teams. Next up, Colts, Jaguars. Does anybody like the Jaguars here?
They're dangerous.
All right. They're not dangerous.
You think they're dangerous with no Leonard Fournette, Cody Kessler, a backup quarterback? I mean, I think
they play the Colts well. They seem to find a way to play the Colts well.
Yeah, but they usually don't have Cody Kessler doing it.
Okay. So I pick Colts. I mean, yeah. So
T-Rex in Fort Wayne picks the Cardinals over the Packers. So T-Rex, I don't know what you're drinking this early in the morning, but keep drinking it. Next up,
I don't think he's too far off. I think
it's going to be a closer game than you think.
T-Rex picking the Cardinals because the Packers, they're banged up everywhere on defense. They traded away Clinton Dix. This could be a big David Johnson game. The rookie quarterback, Josh Rosen's playing well. They could come up and really bite the Packers,
who
haven't been impressive whatsoever. Outside of Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones, they don't have anybody.
I would love if T-Rex was right and the Cardinals won because I can't stand the Green Bay Packers.
Well, I took the Cardinals because of the spread in my pool. But can we start a petition, one petition, that we somehow find a way to get who's their receiver? Larry, what's Larry's last name?
Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald getting traded to some team. Get that guy a ring.
Well,
he is the classiest guy in the NFL.
My hot take on Larry Fitzgerald, because of his ties in Minnesota, I think Larry Fitzgerald will finish his career with the Minnesota Vikings. I think that because he wants to win a Super Bowl, the Vikings need a veteran number 3 wide receiver. And at this point of his career, I think Larry Fitzgerald would take the back seat to Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs next year.
Yeah, he's just so tied to Phoenix. Though. He's such an honorable man. I mean, and the NFL needs to find a way to get that guy a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, but isn't it kind of a known fact that going to Minnesota is not the way to get it?
Yeah, I'd rather send him to New Orleans.
Well, Minnesota.
Imagine him and Breeze hooking up for a season.
Well, actually, Larry Fitzgerald makes most quarterbacks look like Drew Brees. At least when they're throwing.
I feel bad for Larry Fitzgerald because I think that's just total class, and he deserves to play in a Super Bowl before his career ends. So I wish he would get that opportunity.
All right, next up, the Cleveland Browns, who are slightly hot, traveling to the Houston Texans, who are very hot. And I think this Texans team, sold me that I think they're really a contender in the AFC. I think they could do some damage in the playoffs. I think the Texans win this game, Steve.
I agree. I like the Browns. I want to root for the Browns, but I think Texans are they're an up-and-coming team, and they're gelling right now. Yeah, I agree.
All right.
I'm going to say.
Anthony?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Texans here as well. I think Baker Mayfield's going to play a better game than what people expect against this really good Texans defense. But in the end, I think the Texans are going to pull it out.
All right, next up, the Carolina Panthers at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this would be a game we would all just pick the Panthers, but we're going to go through this a little bit just because the way the Panthers have played lately, Jameis Winston and Ryan Fitzpatrick are both capable of scoring 40 points while throwing 4 interceptions. So, who you got here, Anthony?
Wait, you broke up there for a second.
Who you got? Panthers, Buccaneers.
I'm going to go Panthers here. I think the Panthers are in a must-win spot, and the Buccaneers, I don't trust them whatsoever.
All right, Steve?
Same. Yeah, I think it's an up week for Cam Newton. He's going to have a good week.
All right.
And I think, Carolina.
I'm going to take the Buccaneers to win this game in an upset. I think this. I think people are missing. Ron Rivera could be gone after this year. He's played 8 seasons. He had 3 winning seasons. I think Newton's played all right. The defense is good. I just think the Bucs pull the upset here. I think the Panthers are done. I could be wrong, and if Lucas Weiss is listening, yeah, your team's just as bad as mine now. All right.
If you're the Buccaneers, what do you do with Jameis Winston? If Jameis Winston wins, let's say 2 or 3 games for the rest of the year, what do you do with Jameis Winston next year?
My opinion with Jameis Winston is you hope he wins a couple games and maybe somebody will give you something in a trade for him. Because I still think the dude is a cancer more than anything else. And as we saw in the last offseason, you never know when he's going to do something to hurt his team off the field. And you can get away with that with a linebacker, but you can't have a quarterback where you got to worry about what he's doing when he's not with the team. I think that's a serious issue when you're talking about a quarterback. But
good point.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins, which I don't know that anybody cares, but it may be a game where maybe one of us disagrees. Steve?
I took the Dolphins. Tannehill didn't look that bad last week against the Colts, and he played well. I thought, they probably should have beat the Colts, truthfully. If it had not been for luck being miraculous again, they would have won that game. I think the Bills are hapless. They're playing in Miami. Dolphins.
All right. Anthony?
I'm actually going to go with the Bills here. I think the Bills, they play better with Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's rushing ability is overlooked by his, by the big arm stigma that he carries. But, he's rushed for, really rushed the Bills to 2 wins this season, one over the Vikings and one last week over the Jaguars. I think he does it again against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony, and I'm going with it just because when I watch the Buffalo Bills play, they're not as talented as the Dolphins, but they always play hard. They will hit you on defense. I think in the end, that gets them to win. Next up, we got
Sean McDermott.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Next up, we've got the Denver Broncos at the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll start this one off. The Broncos will win this, and they will win it comfortably, Anthony.
Yeah, I agree here. The Bengals are done.
All right, Steve?
Bengals are done. Sadly, I feel bad for you. I know what it is to be in that position where your team just kind of pukes on themselves at this
I've
point
been in that position since 1991, Steve, so it's really not that big of a deal anymore.
I agree. So, I think the Bengals need to retool entirely. And we've had that discussion on our show many times before. But, Broncos are playing good football. Bengals are not. Should be an easy win for them.
All right, next up, we have a game of playoff implications for the Baltimore Ravens as they travel to Atlanta to battle the Falcons. Anthony, Baltimore get it done here? And the big question is, do we have Joe Flacco yet, or is it still Lamar Jackson?
I think Lamar Jackson is going to get the start, whether or not Joe Flacco is active. Flacco did return to practice with the hip, but it's going to be Lamar Jackson. It's going to be Gus Edwards at running back, and I think the Baltimore Ravens pull out another win.
All right. I think this is a no-brainer. I think Atlanta wins this game if Lamar Jackson plays. Lamar Jackson is not an NFL quarterback. He'll never be an NFL quarterback. He beat the Raiders and the Bengals. People forget that. Plus, he threw a couple picks against the Raiders. So I'm going to go with the underdog here at home, the Atlanta Falcons, Steve.
I'm with you. I hate agreeing with you. I hate that more than anything in the world.
I know, because then it'll mean maybe you could be right.
I know. You're right. But I get Falcons in this game all the way.
Alrighty.
I think the Ravens are hanging on by a thread.
And Lucas Weiss says the Carolina Panthers are winning. So he must be predicting the next game because he's not talking about the last 2 or 3. Next up, we've got the Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions. This could be a little bit of a trap game, Steve.
I agree. Detroit is tricky. They can play. They just can't sustain it. That's the only thing. I've seen Detroit play some great football this year that I've seen them play dismal. But it's a dangerous game for the Rams. I mean, they could fall in the same trap that St. Louis or that New Orleans just fell into. Go in there thinking we're cruising, we got this thing, and they don't take it as seriously as they should. And all of a sudden, they're back tied with New Orleans. So I got the Rams in the game. I take the Rams. But this is a dangerous football game.
Well, T-Rex Fort Wayne says Detroit Lions, Anthony. Is T-Rex nuts?
Yeah, I think you have to go with the Rams here. Kerryon Johnson, he still isn't practicing. He's still up in the air for this week. Marvin Jones landed on the injured reserve list. They traded away Golden Tate. So it's really Kenny Golladay or bust on that offense for Matthew Stafford. He just doesn't have enough weapons to compete with the Rams. It's going to be all on this defense, and can this Detroit defense slow down Todd Gurley and the passing attack? I don't think so.
All right, when I look at this, the Lions actually have a decent defense, especially against the run. And the one thing I had found hard to believe was just how good they've been on defense against the run. I think they're third in the league over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They've only, I don't know, though. I want to talk myself into picking Detroit, but I just can't. I'm just going to stay with the Rams here like you girls.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, but I just got a funny feeling this game could be closer than what people think.
I agree with you, Mike. Damn it. It's 2 in a row. This is no fun.
I know. It's never fun being right?
Not when it's with you.
Really? That's kind of a shitty thing to say to me. I thought we were friends.
Yeah, all right, just move on.
All right. Chiefs at Raiders. Anybody want to pick the Raiders?
Negative.
Okay.
Negative.
Next up, Jets at Titans. Anybody want to pick the Jets?
Negative.
No, okay. Titans all the way.
Next up,
Titans all the way.
Vikings at the Patriots at 4:25 on
Good
Fox
game.
Sunday. I think it's a great matchup.
Yeah.
Anthony, what do you think?
I think it's going to be one of those games where Kirk Cousins is put on the spot. Kirk Cousins, the stigma with him as he struggles in a big spot. This is a must-win for the Vikings because if the Giants end up beating the Bears, the Vikings will move up in the standings at least within a game or a half a game because they have that tie. I like the Vikings here.
All right. Steve?
This is one of those games where I would never bet against Brady and Belichick. These are the kind of games those two idiots win every time, and it's on paper. It's the best game of the week to watch. And I'm going to watch this game, but Patriots are going to pull it out. I think Brady and Belichick are too strong, too versed in this kind of game, and the relevance to both teams. I got Patriots winning this one.
Yeah, I like the Patriots. I think it could be a close game. I just don't
trust
Kirk Cousins in these situations. Because actually the Vikings probably have the better roster, and they've got a good football coach, and they need it more than anybody else does. But next up, I got to pick this yet. Did I? Yeah, I did. Patriots. Next
you
up,
said Patriots. But it'd be foolish this time of year. It'd be foolish this time of year to bet against Belichick and Brady.
So basically,
they're dialing in for playoffs.
You're ripping on Anthony, saying he's foolish.
No.
Yeah.
Now, are you recording these picks?
Yes, I am recording these picks. Okay. I'm recording whatever we disagree on. So, next up, I'm going to start off with the foolish Anthony Servino from FF Faceoff on thegruelingtruth.net. And Anthony, 49ers, Seahawks?
Yeah, the Seahawks are going to win this one.
And Steve, I assume you agree.
Seahawks, yeah.
Next up, we got
today is Russell Wilson's birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Russell Wilson.
Happy birthday, Russell Wilson.
Steve, sing happy birthday to him real quick. That's a tradition.
Nope.
Yeah,
did my one singing song. I'm done singing.
Got to. Well, Steve had to sing a song after the Villanova-Michigan National Championship game when he called me foolish, much in the way he just did Anthony Servino because I picked Villanova to win, and we all know what happened.
I did not call Anthony Servino foolish. How did I call Anthony Servino
wait a
foolish?
second. Let's just do it this way. Anthony's here. Anthony, you heard everything Steve said after you made the Vikings pick. Do you feel like Steve called you foolish?
Maybe a little, but
yeah.
Dude, for as much as
you can't agree with everything.
Defended your Cowboys at the beginning of this show, you are getting no brownie points with me at all right now.
This is defending the Cowboys.
When we picked
I'm just trying to create parity. Saints, we need parity.
When we picked the Cowboys and Saints game, if you remember, I said, stranger things have happened. The Bills beat the Vikings. And I said I thought it would be close most of the way, but I thought it would end up like 34-23. And when we asked Steve, do the Cowboys have a chance? Steve went, no, they got no chance.
I'm an idiot. Are we just not realizing that? Are you just not figuring that out?
Yes. All right, next up, we've got the Los Angeles, should be San Diego Chargers, at the Pittsburgh Steelers in a huge game with playoff implications on Sunday Night Football with Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels, who I think are the best announcing team there is out there. Who do you got, Anthony?
I think it's going to be tough for the Chargers without Melvin Gordon, and I like the Steelers here.
Steve?
Roethlisberger rises. I got Steelers in this game. I as much as I like the Chargers, I just think this is a game tailor-made for the blue-collar team of Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well,
I think they yanked this one out.
I think if Melvin Gordon was healthy, I'd pick the Chargers because I think the Chargers are a better team than the Steelers. But without him, I believe that the Steelers will win the game. Next up, Monday Night Football, the Washington Redskins at the Philadelphia Eagles. Basically, the loser of this, I think, is pretty much eliminated from being able to win the NFC least. Anthony, I'll let you go first. This is your division.
I think it's going to be a really close game, but this is one that Philly's going to win. Washington is dealing their perennial collapse in the second half of the year.
All right. T-Rex from Fort Wayne says Mike and Steve are better than Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Michelle Tafoya. So I think that means, Anthony, you're Michelle Tafoya.
Could be worse.
It could. You could be like Ian Eagle or something, and then every once in a while,
can we make him Aaron Andrews? Aaron Andrews is cuter.
Than Michelle Tafoya? Yeah, but Michelle Tafoya is probably,
smarter.
She's tenured.
She's smarter. Plus, she's probably not as used up either. All right, Redskins, Eagles. Anthony, did you pick that game?
Yeah, I took Philly.
Yeah, he picked the Eagles.
All right. Steven?
Eagles. Yeah, I think Redskins are done. Losing Alex Smith just deflated those guys. They don't have anything any left. They're done.
Okay. I don't think that was very good.
They're fading into the sunset. And Eagles are coming. Carson's getting his crap together finally, and I don't know that they're going to make a dent in the playoffs if they get in the playoffs, but Eagles are a better team than the Redskins right now. Should win this game, and they're playing in Philadelphia.
Oh, man. That sure was a lot of talking for that one little pick. I'm taking Eagles. All right. Anthony, I think we may make you pick college football games with us.
Okay. I'll stick around.
You don't watch college football at all, Anthony?
I watched some of the players that are going to be coming out, but that's about it.
Mike, do you realize that if I didn't pontificate on these games, we'd do this show in about 10 minutes?
Well, if you didn't pontificate
you're trying to find
a
sponsor.
You're trying to find a sponsor.
And with 10 minutes on the airtime, you think that we would get a sponsor with 10 minutes on the airtime?
What are you talking about, 10 minutes on the airtime? We've been on for 45 minutes, Steve.
I know, because I've been talking. The rest of you, Eagles, shut up. Chargers, shut up.
You're doing the impersonation of a 97-year-old man with dementia sitting on his front yard and 4 kids playing in it.
Well, that's what I think when I think of you. I see you in your trailer park, sitting out on your front porch with your 3 dogs, fighting over a piece of bacon or, something. And
I'm sorry, Steve, but in my house, if there's a piece of bacon and there's me, my kids, my wife, and my dogs, we don't fight for a piece of bacon. By God, we go to war for a piece of bacon. I mean, it's a piece of bacon.
Bacon is the greatest food in the world.
Bacon tastes good on everything.
Anything.
I mean, it just does. You could put bacon on a shit sandwich, and it would taste awesome.
It's good. Bacon is God's
You've
food.
tried it before. You tried a shit sandwich with bacon on it. You just admitted it, Steve. And you called Anthony the idiot earlier, or whatever it was, when he picked a team you didn't agree with. All right, let's talk college football. We've got the Southeastern Conference Championship game, the Alabama Crimson Tide, ranked number 1, against the Georgia Bulldogs, who are ranked number 4. This is a rematch of last year's national championship game. Alabama's basically the bully on the block. Georgia started off the regular season kind of slow until they lost to LSU, kind of kicked it in from there. I think if Georgia can establish a run game, they've got a quarterback in Jake Fromm who can make some plays through the air. I think this could be a close, grinded-out game, and I don't think people are giving Georgia enough credit on how good they are, Steve, coming into this game.
No, Georgia's tough, but I just think Alabama's much tougher. I just don't think anybody's got anything for Alabama this year. They're deep. They're strong. I hope it's a good game. I hope it's a great game. It really, truly, I don't care who wins. I think if Georgia wins, it muddies up the waters big time in the playoffs, because then you got to decide what you do with Alabama. Do you whack them out?
Oh, you know, they're not whacking them out. I mean, and this is the thing. When you look at this, what's the criteria? Is this supposed to be for the playoffs, Steve? Is it supposed to be the 4 best teams? Or are we going with like the 4 teams that through the year had the best resume? What do you think it should be? Should it be the 4 best teams or the 4 teams with the best resume?
Okay, hang on real quick, because I'm watching Today's Show, and they're listening to 5 greatest foods to reduce stress. I'm going to send you some of these.
Are you going to answer the question?
Well, what's the difference between
oranges.
best record and best
resume? Today's Show says you need to eat oranges.
Not resume.
Salmon.
It's not best record. What it is, Anthony, is this. Is this playoff designed to give us the 4 best teams in the country? You take the 4 best teams. It's not?
It's designed to get you the best ratings.
Best ratings.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this.
Yeah.
They come under the guise that they want the 4 best teams playing for the national championship. But they're not going to do that this year.
No. Have they done it yet?
I don't think it ever happens. But when you look at it this year, it's obvious if Notre Dame is in the Final Four that they're not taking the 4 best teams.
Oh, I would dispute that.
Wait. Because this is my question then. So you think Notre Dame would beat Oklahoma and Ohio State?
Well, I think that would be a game. I mean, I can't predict. Yes, I
think
do.
It would be
yes,
a
I do.
game.
I'm a Notre Dame fan,
so the fact that wait a second, you're a Notre Dame fan, and the fact that when I asked that question, Steve Risley gets quiet for 10 seconds, and then your first response says, "Well, I think they could give them a game." So you're telling me Notre Dame does not deserve to be in the Final Four? Not if you're taking.
Did not say that. Yes, they do. They're undefeated. They're one of 3 undefeated teams or 4 undefeated teams in the country.
Wait a second. Central Florida's undefeated. They don't get in. Central Florida's been undefeated for 2 years, Steve.
I said they're one of 4 undefeated teams in the country. Yes.
Oh, who are the other?
Yes, they are.
I know.
Clemson, Alabama, Notre Dame, and UCF.
So
dumbass.
Dumbass. I'm the dumbass, but you're the one that thinks we should take a team.
You got to ask me who the 4 undefeated
Notre Dame would lose by 3 touchdowns to Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson. But since they're Notre Dame, we're going to let them in for TV ratings, and we're going to watch them get the crap beat out of them, 45-10 by somebody, just like we did when they put them in a national championship game in
Mike,
2012.
And Anthony, hang on here. Here's the deal, Mike. What you don't understand, living in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, there's a thing called a bullseye. There's a bullseye that gets on your back.
There's no bullseye on Notre Dame's back because they don't play anybody.
Notre Dame and Alabama get the 2 biggest bullseyes on their back
That is absolutely asinine. So you're telling me...
That is not asinine.
Wait.
So what
you're
it
telling
says is,
you won't even be quiet because you know you're wrong, so you're going to keep...
Because I'm talking. I said, hang on. Because you get the bullseye. They're getting the best shot of everybody. Alabama does.
I know. Ohio State doesn't. Oklahoma doesn't. Come on, Notre Dame's a joke program. I mean, Brian Kelly lets a dude go up and film a practice and die for him. He gets to keep his job because it's Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a shit institution when it comes to football. They make a mockery out of everything. They play nobody
Mike, you're out of
in the
line
regular
now.
season.
You're out of line.
They played
That's
nobody.
blasphemy.
How am I out of line, and how's it blasphemy? Because I'm not a Catholic.
That's blasphemy.
How's it blasphemy? Do you tell me the
Football
last
blasphemy.
time? When is Notre Dame relevant? 1989?
Why are you talking about them?
I'm talking about them because of this. I'm talking about them because
They're
of
relevant.
people like you. They aren't. What makes them relevant is something that happened 30 years
They're
ago.
undefeated.
They're undefeated. Against what? Who have they beaten? I mean, the only team they beat was Michigan, and I hate to tell you this,
Aren't you
Steve.
the one pissing
Wait a
about
second.
Alabama playing such
You
a
see?
crap-ass schedule?
Wait a minute,
Alabama
Steve.
played nobody?
I want to say something. Hey, they played a crap schedule, but they beat Michigan 24-17. That's their biggest win. Ohio State, just a few days ago, beats Michigan 62-39. There's a difference. There's a huge gap in the difference between Ian Book and Dwayne Haskins. There's a huge gap between the talent on these four teams. Notre Dame does not belong in this conversation. Notre Dame needs to go sit with UCF and then talk about how great it was to go undefeated, beat a bunch of teams that aren't that good, and then maybe Oklahoma, Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson can take the four best teams in the country and let the big boys decide who the best team is, instead of us having to let some crippled Notre Dame program in because Knute Rockne used to be a great football coach.
Okay, now, are you done?
I stopped
Anthony,
talking.
here's a little lesson for you, son. Here's what you get in this
So now
whole mess.
Anthony's your
You
son?
get people who never played the game at any kind of level.
Oh,
that
yeah,
get in
I
there and
never
use
played
the
the game.
statistics and
You know
analysis.
what?
Hey,
Hey,
Mike,
this
Mike,
is the
I
thing. Why
shut
did
up
you
and let
play college
talk.
football?
I shut up and let you talk.
Because they wouldn't let you. But now you're going to personally attack me. And I can tell you this. This is the thing. When you go to personal attacks, you know you've lost the argument because you've stopped talking about what the argument was. Instead, when I got done, you asked if I was done talking. You said that I was wrong, and then the immediate first thing you did was attack me. You did not attack the argument because you know you don't have anything to attack it with.
Here's the deal, Anthony. Here's the deal. There are people that get on these radio shows and that get on statistics and throw statistics at you left and right to make you think they're geniuses about the sport. Then there are people who get out and play sport at that level that know that the things that you can't measure make a big difference in the game. But if you haven't played at that level, you don't know what to measure.
So what level did
how
you
to
play
measure
at?
it because you've never played at that level.
What level did you play
Whether it's
at that I
basketball or
didn't?
football, it's still playing at that level of competition
Yeah.
in any sport. Mike is going to rattle off all these statistics for you and tell you
I didn't rattle
why
off
Notre
any
Dame doesn't
statistics.
belong there.
Okay, what
They
statistic
took on
did
every
I
challenge
rattle
thrown
off?
at them. They deserve a right to be there. They're there, and
Sure
they're a
they
contender
do.
for the national championship.
Sure they do.
It's that
They
simple.
get there because they're Notre Dame.
You have ripped on Alabama all year for
I
playing the
haven't ripped
plus
on
weak
Alabama.
schedule.
Yeah, but it
Yes,
doesn't
you
matter.
have.
Because you know what? The last time Alabama played a weak schedule, they still won the national championship. The last time Notre Dame was put in this position, they got destroyed. And it's the same thing that's going to happen to them
this year
again.
too. But they deserve a shot at it, as does UCF.
UCF deserves a chance. They've been undefeated for 2
Yeah,
years.
they do deserve a chance. I
Because
agree
they've
with
been
you
undefeated
100%.
for 2 years.
They're
But you know
24-0. Or they will be 24-0.
See, this is the thing. Deep down, I know UCF doesn't deserve a chance because they're not one of the four best teams. Anthony, Alabama or
I don't know
Georgia?
that.
Huh?
Alabama or Georgia?
I don't know that. They beat
I'm gonna
Georgia
go.
last
I'm
year.
gonna go with Alabama.
All right, next up, we got the rematch of the Red River Showdown between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns. This is the first time Oklahoma and Texas will meet in a rematch during the regular season. It's kind of crazy considering these teams have played a total of 115 games. The Longhorns beat the Sooners. The Sooners only lost back in early October 48-45 on the strength of Sam Erlanger and freshman kicker Cameron Dicker. Sooners quarterback Kyler Murray, who has to be one of the top three finalists for the Heisman, played great stat-wise, but committed two costly turnovers in that game that ended up costing them. Steve, Oklahoma or Texas?
Oklahoma. They're one of the four best teams in the country.
All right. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Oklahoma with Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama are the 4 best teams in the country. Anthony, Oklahoma or Texas?
I'm going to go with Oklahoma here, too.
All right, next up, Big Ten championship game, so we'll go with Steve first. The Ohio State Buckeyes, ranked number 6, will take on the number 21 Northwestern Wildcats. The Wildcats found a way to finish with 8 wins after starting their season 1-3. They're not an easy out. I think they've got one of the best coaches in the country, Fitzgerald. Steve, any shot at the upset here?
No, Ohio State in a rout, because Urban Meyer is an evil son of a buck, and the only way he knows he's got a shot at getting in is to blow him out, and he's going to go at him with everything. And if they come close to playing like they played against Michigan, Northwestern, I don't care what they throw at them. Because Northwestern's not as good as Michigan. They've got nothing for them. And I think Ohio State knows the only way they can make a plea to get in the Final Four is to destroy Northwestern. Well, so I'd say Northwestern or Ohio State in a rout.
I think this. I don't think there's any way it's a rout. I think Northwestern has a really good football coach. And the difference between Northwestern and Michigan, I think Clayton Thurston, he may just be a backup in the NFL, but he'll be an NFL quarterback. Ohio State's coming off an emotional win. I'm going with Northwestern in the upset. Anthony?
I'm going to go with Ohio here. I'm going to go with the favorite.
Quit being a sissy. Just go with the upset. Come on. All right. Next up.
See, Mike, your Svengali attitude doesn't work on everybody.
You can't even spell Svengali.
I don't need to spell it. I got spell
Well,
check.
You know what? It's a good thing that you don't need to spell words. Next up, the Pac-12 championship game between the Washington Huskies.
Was that a personal attack?
I think it was. Against the Utah Utes. But see, this is the thing. I live in a trailer park, so I'm allowed to have personal attacks because I'm usually the person being bullied in almost all situations. Washington versus Utah, Steve.
Washington.
I'm taking Utah. Anthony?
Of course you are.
I'm going to go Washington here, too.
All right. Next up, real quick, last night. Oh, there. Steve's dogs are now on the show. People have been waiting for that.
What the hell's going on now? Hang on. There. I threw him in the pool. Because we can do that in California right now. We can throw our dogs in the pool.
Yeah, but you know what? Just don't put them in a bag before you throw them in. Let's see. But last night, 30 for 30. I forget what they called it, but it was basically ESPN's attack piece on Bobby
You want to let
Knight.
Anthony go? Anthony, do you want to go?
Anthony, do you want to go, or do you want to talk about Bobby Knight?
I think I'll skip out of here. I have to write an article and prepare for a show later.
All righty.
Goodbye,
We
Anthony.
will see you later, Anthony.
Congratulations on your Cowboys. I'm rooting for – despite you picking on me all show, I'm rooting for your Cowboys now. I want to see the Cowboys do well. I would like to see America's team get back to being America's team.
Screw the Cowboys. See you later, Anthony.
See, I knew
See
that
you on
was
Monday,
saying off.
guys.
That's why I did that.
Thanks,
I
Steve.
really want to – now I'm committed to the Cowboys. Just don't beat my Colts.
Oh, I can't wait for that show in a couple weeks.
That's going to be a great game. That's all of a sudden going to be a really big football game.
Maybe. We got to see what they do the next couple weeks leading up to it, both teams, to see how big it'll be.
Yeah, exactly. You're right, Mike. Good point.
But
Thank you, Anthony. We'll see you
all right,
Monday.
See you on Monday.
Anthony. Monday, Anthony will be back with Panic Monday, where we talk about all the games that happened this weekend and see who picked the games the best this week. Next week on Friday, we'll have Peter Coleman from the Naps High School All-American game on to talk a little bit about the Naps All-American game and also to pick the games with me and Steve. And me and Steve expect that we should win. At least one of us will win every week and never let one of these guests have a chance. 30 for 30, Bobby Knight. You want to address it?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ask me questions.
What do you think? I mean, to me, it was an attack piece.
I thought this. I thought it was very tragic for Neil Reed. I thought that what happened to Neil Reed should not have happened. And
Agreed.
I cannot defend that as much as I'm in Bob Knight's camp, a player who respected playing for him, likes playing for him, got a lot out of playing for him, don't have the animosity that a lot of other former players have. But what happened to Neil Reed was wrong. It was dead wrong. But in turn, Knight paid the price for it. He lost his legacy basically at IU. I mean, he paid the price for what he did, but it doesn't justify it.
Well,
it was
I
wrong.
think this. I think what happened with that, and the worst part about it, is it bastardized his legacy. And what I mean by that is this: you took all these people that, what was the old thing? Some people are, learn how to write when they're little, and then they go on to bigger.
Read and write in the first grade, move on to bigger.
So basically, everybody he ever attacked and criticized, everybody that hated him, he gave them a way to tear his legacy down. Right,
exactly. And what was interesting to watch for me was to watch 40 years of knowing the man, because it really, I'm 75, probably the first time I had any real contact with him, 76, when I was like a sophomore or junior in high school. And then to watch and to know him over that period of time, the interactions I've had with him have all been plus and minus, but significantly more pluses than minuses. But there are minuses. There's no doubt. And that's the style of coaching he did. But when you compacted it all into a 2-hour show, what I realized was how he really changed over that period of time. I mean, the Bob Knight that they were portraying by the Neil Reed situation was not the Bob Knight I knew. He was not the same Bob Knight. I thought that a lot of his charm had gone away. I think he'd gotten tired, or whatever reasons. I don't want to try to psychoanalyze Bob Knight because I'm not that good. But in my day, he was charming. He was difficult. He was tough. But there was a method to his madness. And that's what I always tell people. And when I was playing in 77 to 81, there was a method to his madness. I don't know that in the Neil Reed situation, there was a method to his madness. I'm not sure there wasn't just more madness than method at that point in time. And I don't know if that's just somebody staying in one place too long, being given so much free reign for such a long period of time, and you don't put any boundaries up there. It was tragic to me. I had not seen it, and I staunchly didn't really want to watch it. But I watched it, and I tell you, I saw the morphosis of Bob Knight in that 2-hour period. So in that, it was a good learning curve for me. It doesn't mean I'm still not going to defend Knight and justify more good than bad ever came out of him. But I saw where it degenerated down to there just was no methodology there in the end. And maybe that's the end result of, and Neil Reed was the final blow of no methodology to his madness. I couldn't find the methodology in what happened to Neil Reed. And that disappointed me.
Well, it did me too, because I watched it when it first came out. And I know we talked about it on
air I did not.
It first came out. And I remember calling you and just
I
was upset after I watched it because I grew up in a household and a part of the state where, the big saying in the early 80s when I was growing up was Bobby Knight is always right. You heard that all the time walking around here. It didn't matter what it was. He was right. He ran a clean program. He graduated these players and he won. And I think this...
And he did all of those. He did all of those to the very end. I mean, that part never went away.
But
you cannot say that about 99.9% of the country. I doubt you can say it about
the thing that went away was the winning. I mean,
once the winning went away.
Past 93, 94, the winning was gone. And I think this... I think when the winning went away, I think he started to feel pressure. And when the
tolerance went away too. The tolerance went away with the winning.
But, yeah, that's what I mean. Because then, all of a sudden, his bosses were not as likely to let him do whatever he wanted. Because let's face it, he would have had to lose a lot. He'd have had to have losing records and not even make the tournament to ever be justified firing Bobby Knight. But if this pressure is put on him and he's losing and they're losing in the first round of the tournament or they make it to the second round and they get blown out, there's pressure there that something probably needs to happen. And when you don't have the leadership at the university on your side anymore, I think that's what took the fun away from him because now he's not safe. And when you're not safe, it's a lot different than when it's 1984 or 1985 and you're just in the NIT, but hell, you won 2 national championships. You just went to the Elite Eight and beat Michael Jordan a year before. There's no pressure. And that pressure, I think, builds up. And with Knight's character, Knight wants to be perfect at everything all the time. And I think it got to the point in the late 90s where it was eating him up that he couldn't.
You can see it in his face.
Yeah.
You see it in his face when he's doing press conferences.
Yeah. He wasn't
We've
happy.
Had special private moments with Knight when the media wasn't around and things that players that we'll never talk about, they'll never get put in a book, that were so special to the players with Knight. And that's why most of the players stand by Knight, is those special moments that occurred when you knew genuinely what this man was really all about and what he was really there for. And that never will get told, never will get known. I don't think anybody will ever, because it's so sacred. But then I started watching Knight's facial expressions go on from his press conferences in the 70s, the 80s, and then on and on. And his face just kept getting more and more downtrodden, I want to say, or what's the word, droopy or just sad, or he didn't have that gleam in his eyes at the end. And
there was no energy.
I don't know. There was no energy. It's just, yeah, and it was a little tragic for me to watch it. I mean, because I hadn't seen it, and I am a staunch defender of Knight. I'll go on the limb and say that.
Put it like this.
My experience with Bob Knight was nothing but great. I mean, there was bad moments, but there's bad moments in life. That's the way it is. But
everything that we just talked about, Steve, is proven by the fact that he takes a year or two off. He goes to Texas Tech. He doesn't act like that. He wins, and he looks like he's having fun again. So I think it was he stayed there too damn long. I mean, Knight probably
I think he stayed there too long.
He should have got out of there after the '87 championship, and just went somewhere that was 90s. Different. Yeah, I mean, after the '92, '93 team, I mean, at some point, because after a while, everybody overstays their welcome. I know Mike Krzyzewski hasn't yet, but it'll happen. North Carolina wasn't near as good at the
end. Dean Smith did it, North Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, after a while, it just gets old. And, I mean, when you watch Mike Krzyzewski, I think the point you brought up when they were losing to Gonzaga, where he seemed that he didn't care.
Didn't care. It seemed like it.
I think you see that more and more with him as he gets older. Now, there are still times where he's going to go off and he's going to throw his jacket and he's going to get pissed, but it almost looks contrived to me anymore. I think it's done more for effect than anything else. So I just think after a while, if you've been someplace for so long, it just gets old. And I think, and this may sound crazy, but I think you see a little bit of that starting to creep in with Bill Belichick.
Yeah, you wonder how much longer he can do what he's doing. I mean, really seriously. He looks tired. I mean, when you see him on the sidelines now, he looks tired. He looks tired. But, in defense of all the players that come out and want to go against Rip Knight, you have to understand that everybody handles every experience differently. And how I handle an experience or how another player handles an experience can be two different things. And it doesn't mean that any one of us are right or wrong. It doesn't mean that I'm silly for defending him the way I would, or anybody for bashing him. It's what they took from that experience that tells you what you felt or what you got out of that time there. I don't begrudge anybody for having their own opinion. I'm glad that people do, because I think that, as I said, there's the left side, there's the right side, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. So I don't want to sit there and say any player who sits there and says that Knight was a problem to them and that they created their own mess. No, they didn't. I mean, it just wasn't the right environment. It wasn't a good fit. IU happened to be a good fit for my mentality. And I go back to what I said in the show a couple days ago. Kent Benson just gave me the greatest advice in the world. So don't listen to how he says things. Listen to what he says, and you'll be fine. I took that to heart.
Well,
and I was able to put up with it and learn from it. And not say put up with it. I was able to learn from it and not just suffer through it. And I think that some of these guys that never got that advice suffered through it. And then they got regretful. And then they get angry. And you go through the 7 steps of, tragic events, whatever they are, or however many steps there are. Denial, pain, heart, sorrow, anger. And they go through all those, and it's fine. I don't have that experience. I had great teammates. I got to play with one of the greatest basketball players of all time for 2 years. I got to be coached by one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time at one of the great college basketball institutions. And I walked away with a ring. And it wasn't all daisies and roses, but it was I learned from the entire 4 years there. In the 45 years I've known Bob Knight, every time I talk to him, I learn from him. And I haven't talked to him in a couple of years.
All right, we have a question.
Every time I do,
we have a question.
You learn something.
We have a question from a listener. But does it give Bob Knight? Hold on, because he just asked another question. But does it give Bob Knight the right to choke a kid? And I don't think that's
absolutely not. Saying. No. That just should not have happened. That is. There was no defense for that. In any way, shape, or form, is there a defense for that? And I will not defend that. I am disappointed that he did it. I feel horrible for the Reed family that happened, that they had to endure that. No, caller, writer, texter, there is no justification for that happening whatsoever. And I didn't like the fact that they denied it vehemently until the film came out. That greatly disappointed me because I genuinely thought Knight was higher than that. And it kind of knocked him down a little bit to me that he said it didn't happen. And then the video comes out and it happened. And that's the first time I've seen him be less than really truthful. And I thought the great thing about Knight was he got in front of a press conference and he was truthful. If he called a stupid question, he called it a stupid question. If it was he was always truthful until that point in my eyes. And it took it down just a little bit, but not enough that, well, I can't say that. It was not, there's no justification for that happening at all. So what's the second part of his question?
No, it was just, he just added a comment after that.
There's no way nobody in their right mind could defend what happened to Neil Reed. I don't care how much of a jerk Neil Reed might have been or might have been portrayed as being or what, there's just no way that event should have happened.
All right.
I read Dan Dawkins last night. Dan Dawkins claimed that, went in and really lit Knight up about doing that. And bless Dan's heart if he did. If Dan did, good for Dan.
I doubt it.
That makes you respect Dan more.
But you know what? Shouldn't Dan have come out and said something to him when he was accused of it and he said no?
Well, I know, but there is this protectionary dome that's there. I mean, there is, and they made it sound like a fear.
Let's put it like this, Steve. The fact that he didn't say anything, I don't want to hear him come out 20 years later and try to make himself sound better by saying, I did this. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
But you know what? Just be quiet. There's no reason for you to interject.
Yeah,
most people don't even know who you are.
In defense of Dan, the players try and just ignore and downplay the controversy because it manifests itself so much without our help.
Yeah, but see, I just wish it would be ignored. I think Dan Dawkins does a really good job on the games on ESPN. I got a kick out of him doing these Suns games last year.
I love Dan Dawkins. I love his show. I think he's funny on his show. He's good at what he does.
I just wish everybody would leave this alone. And I don't have a problem with somebody writing a book, but I have a problem with somebody writing a book that never left a situation, that stayed there for 4 complete years. If you left early, you can write the book. If you stayed for all 4 years, I'm just not going to buy it was that bad because you'd have left at some point.
I've never even entertained the thought of writing a book, and I probably could write as good a book as anybody.
Well, as long as you had somebody write it for, as long as you dictated it to me or something, I could write it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it has to be edited. There's no doubt about that. Of course, I'm no genius.
Yeah, but see, my problem is this: I would have to send it to Jeremiah to edit it, and we'd be edited all to hell.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that what happens with the former players, they tend not to speak because they just don't want to add to the controversy. But we as former players that were in the locker room, on the plane, in the hotels, we saw so much more than any media person who writes has ever seen, and it does not justify what happened to Neil Reed. I just want to keep reiterating that. But they're just like, and what I tweeted out on when I saw this, it's like the ESPN. It's like, really seriously? I mean, this is 18, 20 years old. This is like your parent company, ABC, tried to rehash Roseanne, and look what happened there. I mean, you're just trying to rehash old crap. And it's just rehashing old stuff that's not relevant anymore.
Well, that's how everything in society is now, because no matter how advanced society is, you're only months away from checking out the new Scooby-Doo rerun or rewrite of the movie. And I mean, come on, everything they do is redone.
Well,
I mean, there's
we're out here in Hollywood. I tell you, all they do is they're just making reruns. Reruns of everything. Star
Wars 12.
Star Wars 12. My son's working on the new Star Wars project
Rocky
right now.
8. I mean, that's because all the great ideas have been thought about. There's not a little bit of originality anymore. But I think that the fact is that he got served his penance. I mean, he tarnished his legacy got tarnished. I'm sad about that. I'm sad that it happened. I'm sad for the Reed family. Because he was tarnished big time. Because I can tell you this.
Right.
Up until a couple of years ago, when I started to hear what really happened, when all this stuff happened with Neil Reed, I'm like, well, hell, I'd have grabbed him too. The kid was a punk. But when you start to really hear about it, he wasn't. And when he ends up passing away the way he did, this is the thing. I mean, most IU fans that are older will always have a negative thought about Neil Reed, and they shouldn't. And it's just like most younger Indiana Hoosier fans have negative thoughts about Bobby Knight, and they
Bob Knight, right?
Because without Bobby Knight, people forget the program which Branch McCracken left in the '60s was atrocious, and I think that was part of the reason why when Knight got there in '71 and started winning immediately, that the administration just let him do what he wanted, because they'd had over a decade of not even being relevant in a Big Ten way, not even a national scene. So I think once he comes in, he starts winning. His personality is just to take everything over. They just let it go because they were winning and didn't worry about anything else.
Right. No doubt.
If you would have had somebody at some point said, hey, maybe you don't need to do stuff like this, then maybe you could have nipped it in the bud in 1973 instead of festering to what you ended up with in 2000.
Yeah. There's no doubt. And unfortunately, Knight put himself in a position to become, in this modern era of political correctness, a poster child for bullying. That's essentially what's happened now. And nothing's happened new in 18 years, 20 years, many of which people that write and talk about it weren't even alive when the guy was, a masterful genius. But they made him a poster child for bullying, and that's, make your own bet, I guess. I mean, I don't want to, I don't know. All I know is that was the greatest coach I'd ever had the privilege of being around or playing for, and he was one of the greatest teachers I ever had the privilege of learning from. And
go ahead.
That's it. I mean, that's all I can say equate to it. And I understand he has flaws. I understand we all have flaws, and it was just manifested into one that was not acceptable by any standards. And that's the end of the show that was shown last night. But to me, it doesn't diminish the 45 years I've had the privilege of knowing or being associated with him at IU, or through him.
Yeah.
So
and my thoughts, all of him, are him winning. And I like the way he kind of imposed his will on people, especially in the 70s and the 80s. When I grew up, I mean, you had Bobby Knight and God just a little bit above him, and it wasn't much.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it was in
Indiana. The thing that I want to add to it is what I would impose. What you loved about Bobby Knight is, unlike maybe maybe a John Wooden, was that Knight won with integrity.
Yeah.
There has never been a question of Knight's integrity.
Yeah. There's nobody that can question it, because if they could question it, I guarantee you, if he would have ever done anything even remotely wrong, we would have seen it by now. It would have been blown up all over the place. And the thing is this, John Wooden, he walks around. He's the elderly grandfather everybody loves. Mm-hmm. Those are the guys you got to watch for. The
Wizard of Westwood.
Those are the guys you got to watch for. I want Bobby Knight, who takes basically, 4 freshmen and Dan Dockich and Nuve Blob and beats Michael Jordan in the NCAA tournament. That's what I remember. That's what I admired about him. And I know that it's probably wrong to just admire that, but I like winners. I mean, people who win. I mean, that's why I admire guys like Bill Belichick, because he gets it done, and he gets it done every year. And with Bobby Knight, there was never any question about his integrity, the integrity of his wins. There's very few coaches you could say that about.
No, there are virtually. I don't know that I can name 5 others.
I don't know if I can name another, because
I don't know if I can name another. Truthfully, you're right. I don't know that I could.
Almost any kid you think of, or any coach you think of, there's something through his record that is questionable. I mean, Vince Lombardi, you had him finding there's rumors that are pretty much substantiated that he found, before a Thanksgiving Day game, a Detroit Lions playbook. Now, do I think that affects the game? Probably not, but he didn't turn it right back in. And I think Bobby Knight was the kind of guy, if he found something like that, he would have turned it back in right away, because he wanted to straight up beat you.
It wasn't important to him, because what was important to him was playing to perfection. Well, your opponent wasn't your opponent. Your opponent was yourself. How well can you play? Your opponent's your ability. How well can you play to your ability? And that was the opponent every week. If we did, that's why we had 1 offense and 1 defense. We didn't need to worry. We didn't need to manufacture things to take on other teams. We did what we did and did it better than anybody else. And Knight's theory was it wasn't going to matter. If we run motion offense, we keep spacing, we keep the ball moving, we cut and screen with good screens and cut to the ball hard, and kick, double right penetration, and then we play our matchup defense with being a help side, ball side. If we do those things, I don't care who we're playing. And he didn't care who we were playing. Yeah. We had scouting reports on certain players, what their tendencies were, but we just made that fit into what our principles were.
Yeah. There's very few times where I watched an IU game when I was younger, and I watched every one of them. That's how I remember the 81 Indiana-Iowa game the other day. But there's very few times where I ever saw them play where they deviated from script because of another player on another team.
Yeah.
Maybe to Michael Jordan.
No, we rarely did.
Bit, but there wasn't much
we played
deviation.
Against Magic. I mean, we just somebody guarded Magic, and we just knew where he was. We knew what his tendencies were. We knew what Magic wanted to do. But we didn't change we didn't put a 4-on-1, or like they did at Bird one time. Who was it? Bradley, the guy, like 3 guys guarded Bird, and the other 2 guarded the other 4 guys. And Indiana State wins the game. Bird only scores like 4 points, but they're all giddy because they held Bird to 4 points. They still lost the damn game.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. We just like, okay, we're using our principles. Risley, you've got Magic, or Woodson, you've got Magic, or somebody's got Magic, and guys help out. He goes left, he goes right. He likes to penetrate, and he'll dump. So guys slide into position, get in front of your guy that he's going to dump to, and cut that stuff off. Take that away from him. That's it. But use our same defensive principles.
All right.
And he never deviated from it.
We're going to go ahead and wrap the show up for today. We'll be back Monday with Panic Monday with Anthony Servino from the FF Face-Off. We'll see who did the best today on picking the games. You can follow us at Grueling Truth. You can follow us at Survive and Advance, or Survive the Magic on Twitter. You can also find us on Facebook by typing in The Grueling Truth. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, after the World Heavyweight Championship title fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, myself, John Einreinhofer, Jeremiah Pricer will be back to argue about what we just saw. So make sure you check us out on thegruelingtruth.net immediately after the fight. You can hear all of our shows on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So,
can I add one thing?
Sure.
We also will have a post-game show tomorrow after IU's opening Big Ten play against Northwestern.
This is Friday.
With Colin Hartman. And so Indiana Basketball Weekly will do a post-game show where it gets real for Indiana basketball right now. The games count. They count in league play now, so got to step it up a notch, and hopefully they had a good week rest and can bring it after the Duke game and reunite and bring things together and get off to a good start in the Big Ten. We'll do that show. I think the game's on at noon. It's a noon game, East Coast, right?
Yeah, noon or 1.
Yeah, so look forward about a 2:30, 3 o'clock show if you want to watch this live and ask questions, or if not, it'll be posted.
All right. Still, we have people that are wanting you on a Christmas edition of Survive in Advance to sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So you need to start practicing. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody that listened to us. Remember, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So I'm going to wrap the show up. I'm tired of saying we're
Please, get it over with. We're long today.
All right. All right, guys. So we're going to get out of here. For Anthony Servino, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.